Okay, all right. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
My name is Antons, and today we'll talk about AI-assisted coding. I still don't know is it web coding or context engineering or whatever words we will invent next weekend. But I'm kind of using great help of AI to assist me with the code. And here I will, in this talk, I will share my personal, very subjective experience of writing the code with AI. I'm doing it daily, and before I started to use AI, I spent over 20 years of writing code by hand. Right now, I'm asking someone else to write the code. So, yeah, I'm currently working for EPAM Systems. I'm the principal engineer, and what I'm doing, I'm popularizing AI. By saying AI, I in general mean generative AI. If I want to refer to the predictive AI, I will say predictive AI. But today I will just say, if I say AI, that means generative AI. You can find me on LinkedIn. Give me a star on GitHub. And yeah, don't call me on Twitter. Yeah, I quit. Yeah. So, yeah, this is a new material. So last weekend I was on the stand-up. They told, okay, this is a new material, you should warn the audience, so they would not boo if the joke is not good. I hope it will go okay. I'm still a little bit concerned about the timing. No idea how the timing will go. And when I was trying to plug this thing in, my computer got restarted, so I've got all my demo just flashed away. So there will be a live demo, really live, right? I have, like, yeah, it's all deleted. So I will try to recreate again, and I will pray to them and God it will happen quite good, okay? But don't know how it will go with the AI, you never know. Anyways, actually today, like a year ago, I was using pretty much the same tools, but I was relying approximately 10% of my work to them. Today I rely 90% of the work today, and probably the last 10% are full with the meetings. I still pray to that next year, next deepfake model will replace me on Zoom. But yeah, then it will be 100. So, a brief history, what happened? Actually, oh, wow, that's interesting. Okay, yeah, this is what I wanted. So apparently in the 2021, the first beast came up was GitHub Copilot. That was pretty much by today's meaning kind of glorified auto-completion. Basically, when you start to type something, it jumps ahead and proposes something. Oh, do you want to do this? It felt a little bit like T9 in cell phone, but it was way better than auto-completion that we've got since Borland Delphi times. And yeah. Then in 2023, we've got the cursor. They have got a wonderful idea just how to take, to look at the GitHub. And they saw it's a little bit, it's made the initial splash, but a little bit was for a couple of years, a little bit more even. It's still evolved, but it wasn't felt that it's evolving fast enough. Then cursor emerged, and actually they've got an idea. How about if we would put a prompt and then generate a bunch of code, then review it. If it's okay, then accept. If not okay, put another prompt and let's get generated another piece of the code, right? Probably this is what we call today vibe coding, but I will get into this. Then what happened, like sometime forward, we've got another splash that was from Anthropic. The model context protocol emerged that enabled to take IDE, put any tools kind of created by the tool vendors, and tools that can be reusable between Cursor, GitHub, or anything else. That felt really, really, really good, and has been accepted by the community. And then actually, Andrei Karpathy in early February tweeted this tweet about AI-assisted coding. This is when we learned the new word called vibe coding. Actually, and then something happened. Right? What happened? So the previous talk was about Cloud Code, and yeah, it's a wonderful technology. I really like it, and yeah, I was Cloud Code user since its inception, and yeah, for me, it's probably the go-to technology, right? For me personally, but today I will talk about Copilot actually, right? So the Cloud Code emerged, and then we've got the Cloud Code really brought one new thing into this auto-completion and into this code generation in response of the prompt. They've got this agentic mode, and this really, really, really clicked, at least for me. So instead of trying to put everything into the one single prompt, just stuff as much as possible, it felt maybe we can use the model context protocol and the tools and actually run a smaller prompt and give agent a task. For example, just get the tools that you have, for example, shell tools, web tools, and just figure out the solution. I'm giving you a higher order solution, just use whatever you have or whatever I gave it to you, and then find out the solution for me and come back when you will solve the problem, right? And Copilot was quite fast to catch up. They've got their own agentic mode. It's completely different. I will explain what is the difference as the daily user of both IDEs, but of both, I would say, services, or I don't know how to call the Cloud Code because you can npm install it. And yeah, then we've got another interesting word called context engineering approach, right? I still wasn't able to figure out who was this original author of this context engineering. There are some competitive things, but primarily the ask was, how to say, the prompt engineering is not enough just to write the shippable code. Something like that goes beyond of just pure vibes, I would say, right? So I'll talk about this in a minute, but yeah. So, and actually today I'll talk about Copilot, even if my heart belongs to the Cloud Code. Yeah, I use daily Copilot now, and I'll tell you why. First of all, it is distributed as IDE plugin. I like it more. Yeah, it's available as CLI extension, but yeah, I just like this integration with IDE, but it's minor. Cloud Code have got IDE integration as well today, right? What is, to me, what is more important as the principal engineer, how, like, I like the tool, but how do I scale it to my teams or across all departments and so on, right? It's really scalable. So I found the Cloud Code, which is good for me, but sometimes it can generate a lot of burn in the pocket because the Cloud Code is good, but its purpose actually its specific is to maximize the cloud usage, right? This is where they can go with better quality, but what really they do for many tasks, they just like, how to say, it can become expensive. Yeah, they've got this Cloud Max subscription, which is $200. Yeah, quite good one, but yeah, actually it's very hard to compete with the $10 subscription for GitHub. Just yeah, if I want to scale it across 20, 50, 100 developers, yeah. I'm not salesman, I'm not selling this. Microsoft not paying for me, but yeah, that was the choice for me actually to switch to the GitHub. And actually after, that was also an interesting experience after spending several months with the Cloud Code to see, can I have the same nice feelings, same vibes with the Copilot? And majority yes. So let me explain what's going on with the GitHub Copilot. So basically, they've got two subscription types. One is for enterprises, and another one for personal use. Personal use, $10. The non-personal use for the companies, it's $20. Old price still. But at the same time, in return, enterprise is getting the more controls on the models, on the model serving, and many other things. They just got fine-grained this inference policy management, and yeah, that's kind of really good. Yeah, if you do the enterprise adoption. So, but apparently, I'm daily user of this license in the middle that gives unlimited use of small models and quite a bit of use of normal models. Then yeah, then you can upgrade. But yeah, actually I ran out of tokens just once. Yeah, so for me it pays the buck. All right. What else? So if you run the Cloud Code, if you run the Copilot, you've got a few options. I first started with the ask option, and for a long period of time I thought this is the only option I will ever prefer, because I just can't stand this AI generated code, right? It's yeah, I will tell why, but yeah, it's better for me to ask a question than get the generation and then try to copy paste the generation to my code where it fits, and then yeah, fix whatever has been generated wrongly. Then slowly when the new models emerged, and that was when GitHub included models from Anthropic for the first time, then started to use Edit. Edit is actually exactly what it says. You've got the prompt, and then it will start to create a code, create generations, try to edit to comply to your code, right? And at that time, I really work at like maybe 10% of my code I trusted. So in fact, with the AI, what I believe, if somebody will create this UI, that will be great. Something like a leash. Right? It depends on my trust to AI system. I want to either give it a big leash and then say do whatever just you like, or if I see something goes wrong, I just put it back and say, hey, I need more control now, right? And yeah, and then actually agents came, and agents really caught my attention because that was quite a little bit similar to Anthropic but different. What was the difference? GitHub had got the flat fee. So that means that they want to maximize the token, they want to squeeze every token they can out of this flat fee, right? So they've got the opposite strategy than Anthropic. So, that's actually the biggest difference, right? You try to, how to say, cut the corners whenever they can. And that's, to me, the big, yeah, the majority of the difference. And then the last mode that has been added recently called custom. This is Cloud Code have got sub-agents. I can just write a sub-agent and say instructions, say you're a database engineer, you produce wonderful SQL code, never wrote anything else, and so on, right? I can define the Python developer and say, you write the Python code, right? Don't write anything else, and so on, right? The GitHub have got the GitHub way. You can define similar kind of prompt, but you do it the chat mode. Right, you just switch into chat, so I will show you in a minute. And then, yeah, this is how you interact actually with it. So, and yeah, and then they've got the MCP servers support. Like, I believe everyone have got MCP server support. You place it here, my daily bucket, what I use daily. So, of course, it's a GitHub remote MCP server. Then context 7. Context 7 is the documentation, right, written in the way LLM can understand. For majority of the open source software, this is a lifesaver. If I can't find anything in context 7, then I ask to use Fetch and Puppeteer. Fetch is actually downloading the HTML and can extract the body and then read the body. And Puppeteer, yeah, it's just a web browser, right? Yeah, it can click and so on, right? Playwright is the same from Microsoft, and Atlassian, yeah, we use Atlassian a lot, actually. Yeah, that's why I listed here. So, yeah, that's pretty much all my tools I use daily, right? And then, yeah, let's dive into the personal experience. The first one a little bit provocative, please. Yeah, and I'll put one spike to the web coding, right? That always bothered me. So I can open the YouTube and ask, like, write application in 2 prompts, like any application, and YouTube will have 100 videos of that, right? The only problem of that, if anyone has wrote this, tried to this, how was the feeling? Many vibes. For me, it was, how to say, I have production systems. I need to support production systems. I can't just go with the vibes because that will be outage for my users, right? So I need really to do something, something more. And this is where, when I go with the vibes, then I ask, okay, please create a wonderful application. Okay, application looks good, right? But please do logging differently. Please do observability differently. I need different class segregation. By the way, you have used wrong framework. It's outdated. Oh, also, by the way, this is just a wrong design pattern you have chosen, and so on. And then I can continue, right? So that means that whenever I ask vibe coding to write something, eventually it will. Eventually it will be good. Right? The only problem when I will have next task to do, I have to repeat it again. So the vibes somehow started to go away because the context is something that we started to miss between the vibes. So nevertheless, let me tell the things what I really like in the vibe coding. So the number one thing that has been reported by when I asked users why do you use vibe coding, they told, like, I want to learn a new language. Or I've been asked to write in unfamiliar language, right? So why not to go with the vibes? Yeah, It's quite good, yeah. So then actually what we see that if it's executed well, I mean in general, if it's executed well, then the developer can support more larger code bases, right? Because yeah, they can. And work with the larger code bases with a good quality, because yeah, they can now they can rely on the AI with some tasks. And another thing which is good with the vibe coding, the code reviews actually like yeah, for example, GitHub have got their automated code reviews. That's quite nice. Something that you can ask AI just before the code will be merged. Doesn't matter who wrote it. Yeah, is it good or not? And when this thing told the code is good, then I decide if this is a trivial merge request, I might decide to merge it. Risk is low. If this is not trivial merge request, and AI told the code is good, it follows all the guidelines that I've written, then yeah, I can take a look and see it, right? So, and then of course the bad sides. So I mentioned part of them actually. First of them would say that the vibe coding needs really style guides. I need to write a lot of constraints that I have in the project or in general how I write the code. So and these constraints I need to express in the one prompt. Always. Right? For example, if anyone used Claude model, then I personally tired asking it always like stop putting silly smiles in the code. Just it tries to put everywhere. I have an idea why, but still. So or if you work with the GPT, you ask like, hey, could you please stop doing this very weird exception handling? It's just don't do it like this, right? I can give you nice examples, but don't do the way you always do, and so on, right? And the idea of that, I need to give as much context as I can, as many examples as I can, so the code that will be generated will be indistinguishable from what I write daily. Once I get this indistinguishable code that I write daily, then this thing becomes really cool. It will write better code that I do, because it can read the documentation faster. It can look at the methods that I overlooked and add ifs where something it believes works poorly and so on, right? But still, I mean, like it takes an effort to convince this thing to write the code exactly as you would do. Once it's done, then it's super good, right? And to me, this is the primary task, actually, right? And then the second thing is the quality gates. When we try to introduce when we try to scale this vibe coding or AI-assisted coding, I believe this is a skill similar to any other programming skills that we've got. If it's executed poorly, it will be disaster, right? So it really allows you, like once you give like this thing to the 20, 30 developers that say, oh, now I can do my daily work 20 times faster. No, actually, I believe that developers should spend the rest of their time that after the code is generated by improving the quality of the code. They've got time now, right? Then they can provide a good code. But from the architecture perspective, we were unable yet to define the good quality gates that would allow the code, only good code to flow in. Why? Because, for example, we've got the team in Colombia, right? You go to sleep. In the morning, you've got 20, 30 pull requests, many of them with a poor quality, but still, it's you spend the entire day just by reviewing the code that has been auto-generated. It's yeah, when it's executed poorly, then yeah, it's, if we can find how to improve the quality gates, then it could be good. But in my mind, the quality gates for the code are the biggest, I would say, showstopper into mass adoption of AI assisted coding, right? So then, is there any solution for that? Actually, I would say yes. Remember when I mentioned that the code should be mass, like how to say, I need to put a lot of information to the code, what tools I prefer to use, or what tools we prefer to use in our organization, in the project, and so on, right? How the good code looks like, how the bad code looks like, so it won't produce this code, and so on. So, this means that I need to create a prompt, or actually serious prompt, depends on the tasks, and put it in the code, in the version control system. This is my new artifact, right? And then I let this prompt evolve together with my code base. Once the new technology we want to introduce, okay, I can add it to the prompt. If I need to, how to say, divorce to some technology, I can do it again through the prompt, and then ask AI to make all other edits and so on, right? So the way is, it would be good is actually to try to split into 3 areas this prompt. One is the prompt for style guide, where this is how I write, for example. This is the good exception handling, this is bad exception handling. This is a good logging pattern, this is bad logging pattern. This is how we do observability. This is how we write unit tests, and so on. Just this is how we not write unit tests. Don't do like this, and so on, right? And then once we've got a good examples, then yeah, we can have a better, quite a good actually progress, right? Tools. Always use the tools. I find that I can get way better with the tools, simple tools, rather than with prompt engineering. For example, instead of saying like, okay, always look if the file looks like this and then like this, you will find a similar file in the other directory. Now, instead of this, I say, okay, just capture, I can write for the tools. Use the shell scripting tools, right? Use utility like find tree and ls to find the files that look similar like this, exactly as the human would do. Right, then it will do, and actually the hit rate is better. I mean, when I ask this thing to find the code that using the tools, it finds better than using, I don't know, search engines. At least, don't quote on me, this is my personal experience. Yeah. And then the last but not least are the workflows. The workflows where I want to put the consistent process and make it repeatable, something like a runbook. If you are an operations engineer, you're familiar with what it is, right? You just write like, as the developer, we have this, okay, before the code should be checked in, you must run the unit test, you must run linting, you must update the documentation, you must do another thing, and so on, etc., 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 right? Then update the Jira tickets, if you're using Jira as the bug tracker or a different bug tracker, and so on and so on, right? There is a whole process. Then you write this process into these workflows, so it could be handled by the AI as well. So, and these workflows are super essential, especially if I change the data contract in my microservice, and then I need to update 50 different places. Then by defining good workflows, I can give the pattern to AI where to look for these 50 different places and where to update them, and so on, right? This is super important. And by having called this, I think today we call it context engineering. Yeah. The way as I segregate the projects actually has been completely inspired by another talk of this, Andrei Karpathy. It's about actually engineering 3.0, where we create the software for AI first, right? And then I came up with 4 types of the files. One type of the file is actually, how to say, written. It really like I wanted first create an approach that I can use irregardless if I use Cloud Code, if I use Copilot, or I use I don't know, something else. For example, Cursor. I want to use the similar approach anywhere, right? Then I can switch IDEs I like more. So I decided to split the entire documentation into two parts and keep it always in sync. One of them is README files. Every directory has README, or meaningful directory has README, where it's written what's inside for the human, right? And what is more important, I decided to write another documentation. It's called LLMMD. This is in the form of prompt, the direct instructions to the LLM how to use these files, how to operate with the files in this directory. If this is a source code directory, there are instructions what's applicable for this for the source code directory. If this is I don't know, specific microservice inside of this directory that have a special handling, I will create another one, I will MD5 and put it there as well. Or actually, I'm not creating it, I'm just asking this LLM because LLM is actually great to create prompt for itself, right? Then I just ask to write it, and then it will write it. And then it is able to read these files, and then understand in the context what should I do with it, and so on. And I personally have got quite a good quality out of it, right? And then I need to hook it to the GitHub Copilot. Then I have two more files. One of the Copilot instructions. It's quite a small file, and this is the idea, just to hook large files like LLMMD. The LLMMD files can be large, right? And modern models can sustain quite a big context window. So I'm okay to write like many kilobytes there. But GitHub Copilot works best when the Copilot instructions initial prompt is quite small. So I say here the following in this prompt, and I will show you in a minute. Just look at the bigger file whenever you will need additional information. You will find all the tools we use, how to search for additional things that haven't mentioned, and so on, right? And yeah. And another thing is chat mode. This is where I can switch between the personalities of Copilot. Say like, for example, now you're more biased to the Python code generation. Now you're more biased to the writing the documentation, for example, and so on, right? And yeah, and actually the things that I'm going to show you will be available in this GitHub. Basically, yeah, you can look at it there. So, and let me show you. Oh wow, quite a lot of files. So actually, this is all what I have for every microservice.
We don't see.
Oh, you don't see. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay. I think I must exit this interesting mode. I'm sorry. Okay, now it's better. And let me show you not this browser, but okay, probably something I pressed differently. Okay. So, for every setup, I've got something like this, right? This is the microservice I would like to use, right? And whenever, and I'm happy when, if anybody would write this code this many code before they will write any code, I would be super happy, right? So it's better if it is generated. So before, you will see the following. This is a README file that says, that gets the directory structure. By the way, the LLM really okay to read this and then quickly understand where to navigate next. The tools I used and actually how to set up, right? You can see I use drenv, I use Python here, rough, and so on, right? Nothing fancy. Then I've got another interesting file actually called LLMMD. This file is way longer. And this is the instructions for LLM. These have enough information to actually to recreate the code, and actually to see, and it has enough instructions how to follow, how to write good commits, what I prefer to write the commits, how to deduplicate results, and so on, right? And of course, the guidelines says how to keep documentation up to date, right? And so on. Yeah, this all written by LLM, not by me, right? And then, whenever I write in the code, before I write in the code, I also ask to write style guides for Python. If I use Python, if you use Java, style guides for Java. If you use whatever technology, then yeah, it can be very specific, right? And then you add more stuff like how to, again, these are instructions written in the form of prompt for LLM. Right, just take a look at this, and then, yeah, feel free to use it. My aim is actually, I did not succeed, but I hope that once I will be able to create such kind of LLM-MD prompt, I will be able just to give it to whatever instruction, whatever code editor I have, GitHub, Cloud Code, Gemini, whatever, and ask, read this file, just create a new Python microservice for me, right? Do it. Yeah. Not yet, but we are close to that, right? And then everything else has been just recreated from these comments immediately, and then made to the commit, right? So yeah, this code works. Then I started to add more things because yeah, I just branched it out, and then I started to add more things to it, right? And what is more interesting, what I added some deployment strategies, right? I decided to use tools for deployment. It's just a fake deployment, but the whole idea that I write the similar file, how do I deploy? If I use Kubernetes for deployment or Terraform and so on, I can do it, right? And then here I'm just using the Docker to run it locally. And I also started to add a little bit more to the Python convention, just a little bit more, just to say how to properly do the logging, error handling, and so on, right? Try to convince Claude not to write these stupid smiles and so on. And then this thing grow and grow. Actually, what you can do, you can compare the branches, and you can see how these things evolved just over the simple writing the code and so on, right? And yeah, this is how it happened. Yeah. So then this is what I have actually. Okay, let me delete this code because this did not persist through the restart. Okay. How many minutes I have? Not many. Okay. So let me do very quickly. Copilot. By the way, this is how it looks like. There are several modes that are available. I'm more interested in this agentic mode. Then basically what I do, it will by default use the file called here Copilot instructions that says, okay, please among everything use LLM-MD files, please. Right? If I want to be, then there are custom modes. I wrote it too for Python and for doc writing. It also can be checked in. It's in the form of, again, in the form of prompt, but primarily it says it redirects to the LLM-MD again, right? And then it also lists the tools that are welcome to use. Nevertheless, I also duplicate the old tools in LLM-MD, just as a reminder, like if you want to use certain library before you want to enable it, please read in the context 7 about it, then enable it. And then it will do it automatically, right? When I ask, oh, please add Selenium for me, right? It will say, oh, just a second. I will read about it, now I know how to add it, right? It works quite nice. And then, yeah, so, for agent, basically for agent generation, with the Copilot, one more thing I want to show you. The models. right? I prefer to use for code generations, for all of them, I prefer to use either GPT, actually, Claude Sonnet, I like the style as Claude generated more, but when I want this thing to do a task, I start to prefer GPT-5, just to do the task. For example, I have this very strange merge conflict, or I need to rebase 200 commits, right? Just do it, right? Then, and so on, right? Then I prefer to use GPT-5. And if I have a small task, really small, right? I want to switch to the free model, and then my weapon of choice today is GPT Mini. It's a small model, and quite capable of doing small tasks, something like, okay, do the git commit for me, right? Rebase with the latest, do the git commit, right? And then, or define high-level policy, something like, okay, please add this or add that, and so on, right? It works. In general, it works. But right now, let me switch to the GPT-5, or no, to the Claude. Claude is better. So, and then if write, okay, I want to write some code. Please create radio application. I always say please to LLM. Yeah. Radio application. Use my Olama. Use models from Olama. I want to have a combo box with all models and a chat interface for chat. Okay, good enough? Okay, let's see what will happen, right? So before I spent some time to write these files, right? And actually entire morning I spent this time, but then what's happening? It started to read these files, then it started to read by project to get more information. Then it's starting to see what to use next, right? Right now I don't have any of the Olama or Radio in my code base. And then let's see. Actually I think I have deployment of light LLM, but anyway, let's see what will happen. So there is, well, still searching and thinking. Yeah, well, let's give some time. Now it will start to use the tools, read the files, and it's certain moment. Okay, it started to use context 7, got some information. It wanted. Started to read some other docs and so on, right? And then, yeah, it will go with that. How to say? All these things are happening in the context. And in the GitHub, what I really like, okay, is little bits of shell. Then actually, if I have any corrections, what I usually do is the following. So if I don't like what has been created by AI, I ask, please redo this or do this instead of that, and so on, until I will really like the results. And that will be end of the process, right? Then I will have in this chat window the full history of all changes and why it has been done, right? If I disliked something, then it will be in the chat history. The last comment that I do before I close this chat, I say, please update LLMMD with all resolution that we figure it out together in this file. Then it keeps LLMMD in place, and then next time when I will ask it a task, it will do it way better. And this is how we together evolve these files and write this code together, right? Oh wow. We got something. Yeah, nice. Okay, it still didn't follow it one instruction. I asked it like not to write the comments. It still write some comments. Okay, 5 minutes. And yeah, apparently, okay, I asked it not to write the smiles, stupid smiles. I got the smiles. So we have some prompt massage to do. But apparently,
Anton.
Yeah, yeah. But apparently the code that I see is quite good. Yeah, actually quite good. Yeah. It's actually, yeah, I can see it, figure it out that I prefer to use click for command line interfaces and so on, right? It figured it out very well. And then, oh, yeah, even started to write the unit test. If you're a code reviewer, if you're the principal engineer, there is no more excuse not to write unit tests. You can finally reject the pull request without unit test. So, yeah, this is basically how it works, right? Yeah, and then yeah, PyTest, okay, for stuff. Okay, something failed. Okay, let me switch to the presentation, and I will give it to work, and then let's see. Okay, well, I have a couple of more slides, and just and then let's hope that it will work. Whatever I wrote here to it, right? It's all live. Yeah, I don't know how it will work, but yeah, apparently I wanted to share with you takeaways. So first of all, for such kind of setup, microservice setup works better. The big repos may be too big, right? I don't know how to segregate them, but when you have smaller granular setup, then it works better. Just what I prefer to do is actually to do dynamic workspaces. Just to, if I need to do certain piece of work, I group together the microservices that make sense to work together. It will never be 200. It will be maybe 3, 4, 5, 6. Then I will ask LLM to go to figure out its structure and so on, and then I will proceed with my change, right? So the Cloud Code has a feature, UltraThink. Yeah, it's possible to engage with the UltraThink. Yeah, actually, it creates bigger budget for thinking. It will run slower, but results expected to be slightly better. We can do it with the GitHub because we have flat fee. Yeah, and we can do it now. Maybe later they will shut it down, but UltraThink option. But right now it's still working. So then, for simple tasks, something like when you create the code, create a git commit, create text for the merge request and submit it. And yeah, a small model is good enough, right? And GPT-5 is actually good for instruction following. And last but not least, probably the most important, before I close the chat, right? This is most important, the chat. I need to store all resolutions what we agreed for the next time. I use LLM MD as the memory. So this is the memory, long-term memory that was missing in the context engineering. So we got something. It's okay. It's asking more. Okay, let's. Maybe you have any questions. I'm happy to answer, and then I will give a little bit more time to finish this work. Yeah. Yeah.
If your instructions are always rolling, it's not kind of being too slow?
It's slow. It's slow, but I split into multiple files, and then depends on the context. I ask, engage this file or this file. For example, I never write code and the documentation for the code at the same task, right? Then I say, okay, now go into this Python writing code. Then if you go to the, how to say, infrastructure code, right? There is a different files for that, right? This keeps it reasonably small. And what is reasonably small, I mean, if it's beyond 200K, it's good enough. Yeah, and 200K is a lot. Yeah. Yeah?
Did you specify somewhere when Copilot should call you to ask your permission?
Oh yeah, it's a good question actually. Yeah, I did, yeah. And I think I even, now I closed it, it's okay. So actually in the, okay, there is a settings JSON, right? This is, this thing is the very questionable. Use at your own risk to approve shell scripts execution in your local code. Right? On the from one side, it's something that you don't want to do, but on the other side, if you do it daily, you just spend all your time by doing this next. It depends. It's to me, this is more or less like a leash. How much do you want to give to this leash, right? And then, but actually, yeah. So this means I trust it quite a lot. Oh yeah, actually, yeah. I think it's done. Wow, cool. Yeah, question.
About that big LLM file. From my experience is that the smaller the context, the more precise it will follow the context. Isn't that an issue with the huge LLM file? Does it like contaminate or like hallucinating while reading that big file?
It's a good question actually. So about the context, right? So the thing is surprisingly, right? It's these files are large. But how to say, the information inside of them, it's by its importance, it's more or less equally distributed, right? So that means that it's okay for the context, right? The problem usually with the context, at least from my experience, right, when there are very important pieces and less important pieces, but if it's more or less equally distributed, then it's okay. The only thing that I use as the hack for that, right? Maybe I can show it. I use the words like never and so on, right? I also put in this context what it shouldn't do. And then it's good. And then I use a macro. Actually, I told this macro, for example, here. And I say, for example, remember. I call this word remember for Copilot, right? Just when it says remember, it must update a LLMMD file. Never add this is important. Yeah. Oh, I must stop it. I'm in the code generation mode, right? If I will do this, it will start to regenerate the whole code with this smile. So, okay, let me try to run it. Okay, let me do the following: run this thing, and I switch to the simple model, right? Yeah. So no idea what it's for, no idea. There was one question some time ago, right? Okay, it started to do another task. Okay, before it will do it, I will do stop. Okay. Okay, it will not work. Okay, just okay. Maybe one more question while it's figuring out. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question. So you've put huge emphasis on the fact that you need to have you need to write good and bad examples of like how your LLM should process the code. And my question is more about like how do you make sure that this is actually aiding your model rather than locking it in a specific like context and not like allowing it to actually maybe be more abstract with some solutions or not?
Quick answer to that, no. Right, because there is one thing like, okay, let's first figure out if it's working. Right, okay, let me open the browser. Let's say, oh wow, it's working. Okay, not everything, but okay. You're connecting to Olam, okay. At least something working, right? At least it was able to write the chat interface for me, but connectivity to Olam is not working now. Yeah, probably I can give it a task, like for example, to fix this connectivity, then it will fix. But actually, your question is about the context, looking into the context, and the idea is there is no good solution today because it really depends, first of all, of the model. I really found that, for example, Claude 3.5, the previous generation of the model, was kind of fine-tuned to do anything you ask. If you ask, like, please fix this unit test, it will try to fix the unit test. Then it will try to do like several iterations, then say, oh, I'll try the different approach. How about I will comment all checks? And now, thank you, I just fixed all the unit tests by commenting everything out. And so on, right? They fine-tune it differently right now. It acts differently. Then I also started to spot that, for example, GPT model, GPT-5, they fine-tune it even more. Because right now, GPT-5 even started to reject some of things that I'm asking it to, right? And this is good, right? And I'll tell you why, right? Because with the Claude Sonnet really wants to follow your instructions. Like Claude Sonnet 4 really tries to follow your instructions. Really, really, really. And sometimes I was able to persuade this model to implement or to persuade the wrong solution while I was thinking it's right. I was biased, I was wrong. But then I persuaded the model this is the wrong solution, it persuaded it, wrote the bug, and then I report, hey, you wrote the bug. Right, but in fact, that was my persuasion. Right, with GPT-5, it's a little bit less likely. Yeah, so, sorry, no answer, but yeah, it's a deeper question. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I did mistake. I showed to Anton too late that how to finish. So let's do these questions. Let's do that. You come in person to Anton, and now we have break. 10 minutes, half smoke, full toilet.